Many sincere seekers sit each day with closed eyes, folded hands, and noble intentions. Yet after years of effort, they quietly confess within their hearts, nothing has changed. The mind remains restless, old habits persist, peace comes and goes like an unfaithful guest. This has led many to doubt meditation itself. But the truth is gentler and more revealing. Many people sit in silence each day believing they are practicing meditation, yet inwardly nothing truly shifts. Their bodies are still, their eyes are closed, but the mind continues its habitual wandering, replaying memories, planning futures, arguing with invisible opponents. This is mechanical meditation, an outer form without inner participation. It resembles repeating a prayer while thinking of something else. The lips move, the posture is correct, the time is spent, yet the soul remains untouched. Awareness is absent, and without awareness, meditation becomes little more than a ritual of comfort rather than a path of awakening. When meditation is practiced mechanically, it often turns into a subtle form of sleep. The mind drifts into dullness, not stillness. People confuse this heaviness with peace, but true peace is bright, alert, and alive. Inner awareness is the light that distinguishes conscious stillness from unconscious rest. Without that light, meditation only quiets the surface of the mind while deeper tendencies remain unchanged. Old fears, reactions, and desires continue to operate beneath the silence, waiting to reassert themselves the moment the eyes open. The habit of mechanical meditation arises because the mind loves routine. It feels safe following instructions without understanding them. Sit straight, close the eyes, watch the breath, repeat a mantra. These become actions performed automatically. But meditation is not an action, it is a state of being. Awareness must be present at the very beginning, otherwise the practice becomes hollow. One may sit for years accumulating hours, yet remain inwardly restless, because the essential ingredient was missing all along. Inner awareness means knowing, moment by moment, what is happening within. It is the gentle witnessing of breath, thought, sensation, and feeling without interference. Mechanical meditation replaces this witnessing with habit. The practitioner watches the clock more than the mind, counts repetitions instead of observing consciousness. Gradually, meditation becomes another task to complete, another item on the daily schedule rather than a sacred encounter with the self. When this happens, frustration quietly grows, and doubt enters the heart. Why am I not changing? Without awareness, effort increases. People try harder, strain more, discipline themselves further. But force cannot awaken consciousness. Awareness is subtle, it responds to clarity, not pressure. Mechanical practice tightens the mind, whereas awareness relaxes it into natural stillness. Just as a clenched fist cannot receive a gift, a strained mind cannot receive insight. Meditation begins to work only when attention softens and becomes intimate with the present moment. Another danger of mechanical meditation is self-deception. A person may believe they are progressing simply because they are consistent. Regularity is valuable, but only when infused with awareness. Otherwise, consistency only strengthens unconscious patterns. One may sit every day with the same restless mind, reinforcing distraction instead of dissolving it. Awareness, on the other hand, exposes these patterns gently, allowing them to loosen their grip without struggle. Inner awareness also brings sincerity. It reveals whether one is truly present or merely pretending to be spiritual. This honesty is uncomfortable at first, but it is purifying. Mechanical meditation avoids this discomfort by keeping everything on the surface. Awareness dives inward and illuminates what has long been ignored. In that illumination, transformation begins, not through effort, but through understanding. True meditation is alive. Each moment feels fresh, unrepeatable. Mechanical meditation feels dull because awareness is absent. The breath is observed without curiosity, the mantra repeated without feeling, the silence entered without depth. When awareness returns, even a single breath becomes profound. The practitioner feels energy moving inward, thoughts slowing naturally, and a quiet joy arising without cause. This is not imagined, it is experienced directly. Awareness also prevents attachment to technique. Mechanical practice clings to method, believing salvation lies in the form itself. Inner awareness uses the method as a doorway, not a destination. When awareness deepens, the technique becomes secondary, sometimes even dissolving on its own. Silence takes over. and meditation becomes effortless, intimate, and deeply nourishing. Without inner awareness, meditation remains an outer shell, respectable, disciplined, and ultimately limited. With awareness, even a few moments of stillness can reveal depths that years of mechanical effort could not touch. Awareness is the soul of meditation. Without it, the body may sit, the breath may slow, but the heart remains unchanged, waiting quietly for true presence to arrive. Breath moves through every moment of life, silently linking the visible body to the invisible currents of consciousness. It is the one function that belongs equally to the physical and the subtle realms, obeying both the laws of the body and the moods of the mind. When the body is tense, the breath becomes shallow. When the mind is agitated, the breath becomes irregular. When peace arises, the breath naturally softens. This intimate connection reveals a profound truth. By understanding and refining the breath, one gains access to both body and soul. Most people live without ever truly meeting their breath. It happens automatically, unnoticed, like the ticking of a clock in the background of awareness. Yet this neglected rhythm carries within it a remarkable power. Breath is not me. Rely air entering and leaving the lungs. It is the vehicle of life, force, the subtle energy that animates thought, emotion, and movement. Wherever this energy flows, attention follows. Wherever it withdraws, silence appears. The mind and breath are inseparable companions. Try to hold the breath, and thoughts immediately pause. Allow the breath to become rapid, and thoughts race along with it. This is not coincidence but design. Nature has placed the key to inner mastery within easy reach. The breath is accessible in every posture, in every situation, at every stage of life. It does not require belief, imagination, or external support. It only requires awareness. When the breath is coarse, consciousness is scattered. Energy rushes outward through the senses, attaching itself to objects, desires, and worries. In this state, meditation feels difficult because the mind is being constantly pulled away. But as the breath becomes refined, slower, smoother, quieter, energy begins to return inward. The senses loosen their grip, thoughts lose urgency, the body relaxes without effort. One does not force stillness, stillness arrives naturally. This is why breath is the true bridge between body and soul. The body understands rhythm and movement. The soul responds to calm and harmony. Breath speaks both languages fluently. By gently guiding the breath, one communicates with the nervous system, soothing it. At the same time, one signals to consciousness that it is safe to go inward. The breath becomes a messenger, carrying peace from the soul to the body and stillness from the body to the soul. Many struggle in meditation because they attempt to control the mind directly, but the mind resists domination. It is restless by nature, shaped by years of habit and stimulation. The breath, however, is more willing. It responds quickly to gentle attention. When awareness rests on the breath without interference, the breath reorganizes itself. It becomes balanced, and in that balance, the mind follows like a shadow. As breath grows subtle, something remarkable occurs. The boundary between inhalation and exhalation begins to dissolve. The pauses between breaths lengthen. In these quiet intervals, awareness stands alone, unsupported by movement. Thought cannot survive there. Identity softens. One feels suspended in a space that is neither effort nor sleep. This is the threshold where the soul begins to reveal itself, not as an idea, but as a direct experience of presence. Breath also carries emotional memory. Suppressed feelings lodge themselves in the breathing pattern, tightening the chest, shortening the inhalation, disrupting the natural flow. When breath is allowed to become free and conscious, these knots begin to unwind. Old tensions release without analysis. Healing happens not through revisiting the past, but through restoring harmony in the present moment. The soul expresses relief through the body as ease, warmth, and quiet joy. The sacredness of breath lies in its constancy. It is always with you, patiently waiting to be acknowledged. Even when the mind is chaotic and the body exhausted, the breath offers a way back. Each conscious breath is an invitation to return home, not to a place, but to a state of being where effort dissolves and awareness rests in itself. Through breath, the seeker learns that spirituality is not an escape from the body, but a refinement of how life moves through it. The body becomes calm, the mind becomes clear, and consciousness begins to recognize its own depth. In this gentle process, Breath fulfills its silent purpose, uniting the seen and the unseen in a single living rhythm. The human mind has been trained to believe that every meaningful achievement requires effort, tension, and struggle. From early life, striving becomes a habit, and success is associated with pushing harder against resistance. When this same mentality is carried into inner life, it quietly becomes the greatest obstacle to awakening. Higher consciousness does not respond to force. It does not open itself to ambition or mental aggression. It reveals itself only in stillness. When the restless impulse to conquer finally falls silent, many seekers approach meditation as a battlefield. They attempt to fight thoughts, suppress emotions, and overpower distractions through sheer will. For a moment, this may create a sense of control, but beneath it lies exhaustion. The mind may become quieter, yet it remains tense, watchful, and strained. This tension blocks the very awareness one seeks. Consciousness cannot expand in a contracted state. Just as a clenched muscle restricts movement, a clenched mind restricts perception. Stillness is often misunderstood as passivity or laziness, but it is neither. True stillness is intensely alive. It is the state in which awareness is fully present without being pulled in any direction. In this state, there is no resistance to thought, and no attachment to silence. Everything is allowed to arise and dissolve naturally. This allowance removes friction, and where there is no friction, energy gathers instead of leaking away. Struggle creates division within the mind. One part tries to control, another resists, and a third observes the conflict. This inner fragmentation drains vitality and keeps consciousness bound to surface activity. Stillness reunites these divided parts. When effort relaxes, attention becomes whole. The mind no longer chases experience or pushes it away. It rests. In that rest, perception deepens effortlessly. Higher consciousness is not something added from outside. It is uncovered. It has always been present beneath layers of agitation. Struggle only adds more layers. Stillness removes them. The moment one stops interfering with the natural movement of awareness, it begins to settle on its own, like mud sinking in clear water. No force is needed, only patience and trust. The paradox of inner awakening is that the less one tries to achieve it, the closer it comes. Striving is rooted in the belief that something is missing. Stillness is rooted in the recognition that nothing essential is absent. When the mind rests in this recognition, it opens inwardly. Silence becomes expansive, not empty. One begins to sense a presence that is not thought, yet fully conscious. In stillness, the body also responds. Muscles soften, breath becomes subtle, and the nervous system shifts from survival to harmony. This physiological quiet supports mental clarity. As the senses withdraw from constant stimulation, awareness turns inward naturally. There is no need to command this withdrawal. It happens spontaneously when struggle ends. The body understands stillness more easily than the mind, and through the body the mind relearns how to be quiet. Struggle feeds the ego's desire to improve, to become something greater. Stillness dissolves this desire by revealing a deeper truth. Consciousness is already complete. In moments of deep quiet, the sense of I am meditating fades, replaced by simple being. Time loses its grip. The future and past loosen their hold. Awareness rests in itself, self-luminous and unburdened.
This is why moments of insight often arise unexpectedly. During
silence, in nature, or in states of deep relaxation. They rarely appear when one is straining for them. Stillness creates the inner space in which higher perception can descend. It is an invitation, not a demand. Consciousness responds to openness, not pressure. As stillness deepens, fear begins to dissolve. Much of human anxiety is sustained by mental noise and constant effort to control life. In quiet awareness, one sees that control was never necessary. A greater intelligence is already functioning beneath thought, guiding breath, heartbeat, and intuition. Trust in this intelligence grows naturally in stillness. The awakening of higher consciousness is not dramatic or forceful. It is gentle, subtle, and profoundly intimate. It arrives not as an achievement, but as a remembering. When struggle falls away, what remains is clarity, peace, and a silent joy that does not depend on circumstances. In that quiet recognition, awareness stands revealed, vast and free, needing no effort to sustain itself. Many people measure their inner progress by the number of minutes they sit in meditation, believing that longer duration must naturally lead to deeper results. Time becomes the yardstick of spiritual effort, and endurance is mistaken for depth. Yet consciousness does not respond to quantity in this way. It responds to quality. A mind that is fully attentive for a few moments touches greater stillness than hours spent in distracted practice. Attention is the living force that gives meditation its power. Without it, time passes, but nothing truly happens. When attention is weak, meditation turns into waiting. One sits, hoping silence will arrive on its own, while thoughts drift freely in the background. The body remains in posture, but awareness is elsewhere. This kind of sitting may create temporary calm, but it rarely produces lasting change. Time alone cannot purify the mind, because the mind is not changed by duration, but by insight. Insight arises only when attention is present, steady, and intimate with the moment. Attention gathers scattered energy. In ordinary life, consciousness is divided among countless impressions, worries, and desires. This division creates fatigue and inner noise. When attention becomes focused, energy that was leaking outward begins to return. The mind feels brighter, more alive. Even brief moments of true attention can reset the inner state, much like a clear breath can refresh the body more than many shallow ones. Time-based effort often carries subtle impatience. One endures the session in anticipation of a future reward. This forward-looking attitude weakens awareness, because attention is pulled away from the present moment. True attention has no future goal. It is complete in itself. When attention rests fully on breath, sensation, or silence, there is no sense of waiting. Each moment is full, and meditation becomes immediate rather than delayed. The mind is highly sensitive to attention. Wherever attention goes, the mind follows. If attention is partial, the mind remains restless. If attention is whole, the mind settles naturally. This is why a single conscious breath can bring more clarity than an hour of mechanical breathing. Attention transforms the simplest act into a doorway. Without it, even the most refined technique remains ineffective. Another misunderstanding arises when people believe that struggle to maintain long sessions strengthens concentration. In reality, fatigue often weakens it. Prolonged sitting without alert attention can dull awareness, leading to heaviness or drifting. The mind may appear quiet, but it is often simply tired. Attention, on the other hand, is wakeful. It sharpens perception. It reveals subtle movements of thought and feeling that long, inattentive sitting overlooks. Attention also carries sincerity. When one is truly attentive, there is honesty about what is happening inside. Distraction is noticed without judgment. Restlessness is seen clearly. This clarity itself is transformative. Time spent without attention avoids this seeing, allowing habits to continue unchallenged. Awareness, even briefly applied, interrupts these patterns and weakens their hold. The power of attention lies in its immediacy. It acts now, not later. It does not accumulate like hours on a clock. It penetrates. When attention is steady, even for a short time, it touches the root of consciousness. From that contact, understanding arises. The mind learns what stillness feels like and begins to return to it naturally. Even outside formal practice, long meditation sessions have value when attention remains alive, but they become empty when attention fades. It is better to sit for a short time with complete presence than to sit for long periods in semi-awareness. Quality trains the mind more effectively than quantity. Attention teaches the mind how to be present. Time alone teaches only endurance. As attention deepens, meditation becomes less about sitting and more about being. Awareness begins to flow into daily life, into walking, speaking, listening. This integration happens not because of long hours, but because attention has been strengthened. A mind trained in attention recognizes stillness everywhere. Attention is the flame, time is only the candle. Without the flame, the candle remains unlit, no matter how long it stands. When the flame is present, even a brief moment illuminates darkness. Through attention, meditation fulfills its purpose, not by the passing of minutes, but by the awakening of awareness in the present moment. Most people understand willpower as a personal force, something generated by effort, discipline, and determination. It is seen as a muscle that must be exercised against resistance. In ordinary life, this kind of will is useful, but in meditation it quickly reaches its limits. When willpower is isolated from a deeper current of intelligence, it becomes strained and fragile. True meditation reveals a different dimension of will, one that does not fight against life but cooperates with it. In this alignment, personal intention merges with a greater flow of energy that moves the universe itself. When meditation is approached only with individual willpower, the practitioner tries to control the mind, command silence, and manufacture peace. This creates tension because the small self is attempting to dominate forces far larger than itself. Thoughts multiply in resistance, emotions push back, and the body tightens. The more one tries to impose order, the more disorder appears. This struggle is not a failure of effort, but a misunderstanding of how inner transformation actually occurs. True meditation begins when willpower changes its role. Instead of forcing outcomes, it chooses direction. Instead of struggling, it consents. The will gently decides to turn inward, to remain present, to be still. After this choice is made, it relaxes its grip and allows a subtler power to take over. This power is not personal. It is the same intelligence that regulates breath, heartbeat, and growth. When the will stops interfering, this intelligence naturally rises into awareness. Divine energy is not distant or abstract. It is already moving through the nervous system as vitality, perception, and intuition. In ordinary consciousness, this energy is scattered outward through restless thinking and sensory craving. Meditation gathers it inward. When willpower aligns with this movement instead of resisting it, effort transforms into cooperation. One no longer feels that meditation is being done. It feels as though something deeper is guiding the process from within. Alignment does not mean passivity. It requires alert participation. The will remains awake but not controlling. It watches, listens, and maintains sincerity. This balanced state allows divine energy to work without obstruction. As attention settles, the breath refines, and the body becomes calm, energy begins to ascend naturally. The mind grows quiet, not because it is suppressed, but because it is fulfilled by a deeper current of awareness. When willpower is misused in meditation, it contracts around desire for results. One wants visions, peace, bliss, or progress. This wanting pulls consciousness outward again, fragmenting attention. Alignment dissolves this grasping. The will is no longer chasing experience, it is offering itself. In that offering, resistance disappears. Energy flows smoothly, and the mind rests without effort. As alignment deepens, intuition begins to replace effort. Decisions arise spontaneously, without inner conflict. One feels guided rather than driven. This guidance is subtle but unmistakable. It carries clarity without tension, confidence without arrogance. The will no longer feels like a burden to carry, but like a steady flame protected by a greater wind rather than threatened by it. This alignment also heals inner division. Much human suffering comes from opposing currents within, one desire pulling one way, fear pulling another. Divine energy is unifying by nature. When the will aligns with it, fragmentation dissolves. One feels whole, centered, and inwardly ordered. Actions become simpler, thoughts quieter, emotions more transparent. In this state, meditation ceases to be confined to sitting. The aligned will remains present in daily life. Work becomes focused without strain. Relationships soften. Even challenges are met with steadiness rather than resistance. This is not because the individual has become stronger, but because strength is no longer coming from the individual alone. Alignment also reveals humility. One recognizes that personal effort was never the true source of transformation. It was always a matter of allowing a higher intelligence to express itself without obstruction. The will's highest function is not control, but surrender with awareness. In this surrender, freedom is not lost, it is discovered. As meditation matures, the sense of a separate doer fades. Willpower becomes transparent, like a window rather than a wall. Through it, divine energy moves unobstructed, shaping thought, breath, and awareness from within. The meditator does not disappear, but is no longer isolated. There is action without tension, intention without struggle, and presence without effort, as consciousness continues to unfold through a will that has learned how to listen.